Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today on Talk About It Tuesday, we're going to talk about drum brake operation. Kind of explain a little bit of like how they work and just help you understand them a little bit better. Let's just watch the show intro. We'll see you in just a short time. We'll be right back. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
I've been working on cars since sometime in the late 70s or early 80s. I don't remember exactly when, but it's been a hot minute or three. One of the things that I've worked on from the very, very earliest days is drum brakes. So we're going to start this session out with a little question. Do you know how to identify your drum brakes? So I have a pair of shoes here, unlike the ones on my feet. And you'll notice that, they're just a bit different. This is an actual pair, and you will notice that one shoe is a lot smaller than the other one. So these go into a brake drum, onto a backing plate, blah, 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 blah. I know early on, and even for years, I was always like, I had a hard time knowing which shoe would go where. So let's identify these first and help you understand that. And then on the board, I'll help explain to you the theory behind why they're designed this way. So I've kind of drawn things on the board here. This is the back shoe here. This is our emergency brake lever. This is the front shoe here, okay? So I kind of gave it away right then. Which is which? One of these is called a primary and one is called the secondary. The smaller one is the primary, and I'll tell you how I remember that. The primary is the puny. And I bet you'll never forget that from now on. Okay. But then the question becomes, which one goes where? Does the primary go in the front or does the primary go in the back? Well, if I explain how these work to you, it'll make some sense. This is the front of the vehicle, this direction. The primary shoe, the puny shoe, always goes towards the front of the vehicle. So the wheel rotates this way, and the primary shoe goes this way. This is kind of what I would call the actuary shoe or the activator shoe, or
It's the primary one.
the secondary shoe is the one that's on the back. So let me explain how this works, and I think it'll make some sense. Most of your braking is done with this shoe in a drum brake setup. Not all, because there's there. But what happens is up in here, there is a wheel cylinder that is activated by stepping on a brake pedal that causes fluid to move through a brake line and causes these little pistons in here to go and come out, which pushes against these shoes, okay? It is the rotating force of the brake drum or the wheel that actually is what causes the braking, not so much the hydraulic. Yes, the hydraulic obviously plays a significant factor, but these brake shoes are designed to work like a wedge, okay? So when you step on the brake, this shoe comes out. Of course, this one does too to some degree. The rotating force of the brake drum that it's pressing against grabs this shoe and causes this one to wedge against the back of the brake drum. That's why there's a lot more brake shoe on the back one than the front one. So the rotating force of the wheel, obviously this one grabs the drum, it pulls down, which they're spreading as well, so they kind of do this, okay? And all of this force goes against that brake drum to help stop. That's why if you have a drum brake car and you're backing up, if it has four wheel drums, it tends to not stop as well in reverse as forward, because that's this motion opposite when the wheel is spinning the opposite way. Now there are a few other pieces and parts and things that we want to explain, but the primary purpose of today's video is for you to understand that the primary is the puny and it always goes towards the front, the secondary is the bigger and it goes to the back. And it's because of this wedging factor. So we have a wheel cylinder, as we said, that causes these two little pistons to squeeze out. And this wedge factor causes this shoe back here to press and wedge, and the rotation of the drum itself kind of causes this to break and becomes almost a mechanical function as well as a hydraulic function to cause these things to stop. Now there are a few other components in here. The first one I want to explain is this little lever right here. It's on the secondary shoe. And if we drew it in here, it would be in here. Oh, no, probably, actually, the hinge is up in here somewhere. None of this is to scale, but you get the idea. And that lever comes down, and it's got this pivot, okay? This is your parking brake. What happens is, it kind of does the same thing to some degree. Rather than using hydraulic force to actuate these shoes, it uses a lever, pulls that lever with a cable down here at the bottom. Your cable goes in right here and causes this to pull out, push against the primary shoe, and cause that secondary shoe to wedge. Again, it's the same principle, only it is done with a cable instead of with fluid. The third thing that is in here beyond this is there is also a cable that comes from this top post up here where the shoes rest against, and I'll get a backing plate and show you what this looks like, and runs down around a little cable channel that goes on with the hold down spring here. It's a spring that kind of looks like this, and it has a plate, and there's a pin, and you twist it on. That's not the point of this video. And it comes down here to a little actuating lever. Now down here, there's this little threaded thing, and it has a star wheel on it, and then there's a little lever that kind of comes over, and this cable kind of ties in there, and this is the adjuster for the brakes, so that the way you properly adjust a drum brake is you have the wheel off the ground. The best way is to have the wheel spin, step on the brake pedal to center these shoes, let up, make sure the wheel is spinning. And then what I do is tighten the adjuster up until the brakes are pretty well tight. Step on the brake pedal again to make sure they're recentered, make sure they're still tight, and then back it off until the wheel starts to spin freely and you don't hear a lot of drag on the drum. We'll go through this on one of these cars one of these days. But anyway, this little lever that comes from up here, as these brakes do this ratcheting action around in here and this wedgie thing, there's called the auto adjuster, and this little lever down here goes up and down, and if this brake needs to adjust, it will auto adjust that little adjuster, which is that star wheel with a threaded thingy and some other stuff like that, and it goes and causes that brake to adjust. So there's a lot packed into drum brakes. I'm not a big fan of all-wheel drum brakes. Scoops has those, and it tends to be a little squirrely when you first step on the brakes for the day. It can dive around. After that, it's usually fine. My preference is discs on the front, drums on the back. Drums are simple. A lot of guys, I want disc brakes on the back. I really don't really see the value in that. Drum brakes have been around forever. I think they work well. I don't have any of my old cars that have discs on the back, and I have no intention of putting them on the back. Drum brakes are tried and true. They work well, and that's how they go. Let's show you a backing plate, and then we'll wrap this up. Let me be clear that these shoes are not right for this backing plate, but it'll prove the theory, okay? So here's your pin. That's your hinging pin right there for both shoes that they both kind of hinge on, okay? This is where your wheel cylinder goes here to press out. That causes that wedgie effect, so to speak. Down here is where the emergency brake lever and the cable actuator is, down here. You can see that, okay? And this is where that would go across, and where you'd pull this lever and it would cause this shoe to pull forward and then cause this to wedge back around like that. This is where your star adjuster goes down here, and your auto adjuster would be down in here. There's a couple of hold down springs here and here. And this is where that little lever is that would cause that star adjuster to turn and thread its way out to tighten up the brakes. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. Again, small shoe, the puny shoe, the primary shoe, front of the vehicle, large shoe, secondary shoe towards the back. This is what does most of the braking. This is the actuator shoe to actuate and cause this one to wedge up in. So it pivot against this pin. It kind of slams against the drum down here, and this whole effect causes this to wedge in. I mean, if you really think about it mechanically, this shoe coming this way is automatically pulling away from the drum by that rotating force. But this one is being forced into the drum because of the rotating force. And that's why the difference is in the size of the brake shoes. Well, I hope that this little tidbit for Talk About It Tuesday was a tasty little morsel for you, that you learned something or maybe just had some things refreshed in brake drum operation basic theory. Again, not intending to be a real deep in-depth how to repair brakes, but I find it's helpful if you understand the theory behind how something is made. When you go to replace the part or assemble it, it makes a lot more sense. So there you go. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for being here. We're over on the Face thing, / My Car Shop. We're here on the You thing, / My Car Shop. We're over on Instant Grandma. She loves us and buys us cookies and all kind of stuff like that. And like, subscribe, share. You know, the best way you can help us out is to tell other people and get them to come over here and subscribe to what we're doing. The more we grow, the more we're going to do, the more we're going to do, the more we're going to grow, and it's just kind of symbiotic. All right, that'll do it. We'll catch you on the next one. Oh, dang it, I almost forgot. Rock!